John Barnes, a very good morning. Great to see you. How are you, first of all?
Always good to see you. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I must admit, I was going through my questions yesterday, and I wasn't quite sure if I'm about to interview John Barnes, the Liverpool legend, or the John Barnes, the pop star.
Rapper.
And rapper,
Or the
pop
dancer.
star.
Dancer.
Dancer was
strictly club dancing. I'm a man of many talents.
So, yeah, let's talk about this
I
talent,
know
please.
I've got none at my age.
You got more than me, that's for sure. Let's talk about the song you released just before the Euros.
This is the one, this is the one. 57 years of hurt, now we're getting it done. This is the one, this is the one. 3 lines on the shirt with some fun in the sun.
What inspired you to release that song at a timing? Perhaps you had this feeling that the Oasis will go for a reunion, and do you see them as a competition? Oasis versus John Barnes?
It wasn't a song. It was an advert that I did for a company, so it wasn't a song to go into the charts. But of course, every time you're doing anything now for any company, they want you to do some rapping or some singing.
Of course.
So it wasn't a song released for the charts.
Okay. Do you see? Can you compete with Oasis? You think, or not the same
Well,
level?
I'm a rapper. They're singers. You know, if you know anything about music, rapping and singing is completely different.
Okay,
You can't
okay.
compete. Snoop Dogg and Oasis can't compete against each other. I can compete with Dr. Dre though.
Okay, good answer. We're not done yet with your music career. End of the season last season, end of the season party. You and Jurgen Klopp, what a combination. You were singing, Jurgen was dancing. I must ask you, was it planned or Jurgen just being Jurgen just went for it and surprised
Well, I was
you as
very
well?
disappointed because Jurgen stole my thunder. I'm supposed to be on there entertaining the crowd. And of course, him being the biggest Liverpool hero ever, he came on, stole my thunder. So Jurgen started dancing. I couldn't believe it because he's sitting over there with his wife. I can't believe he came up. Everyone forgot about me and just looked at Jurgen. But he's not bad for a German. He's got some moves.
How would you rate his dancing skills from 0 to 1?
Well, you can't rate them 0 to 1. You have to look at what department he's in. Now, obviously, being from Germany,
Yeah.
having the rhythm that Germans have, I would give him 8. For a German.
Okay, and for an
In
English?
terms of English, probably the same. But for Jamaican, he'd probably got 2.
Okay, fair enough. On a serious note, Jurgen left in the summer, and replacing him perhaps looks like a mission impossible sometimes. Can you see any similarities when Kenny Dalglish left Liverpool in the early 90s, several months after you won the league, that if you compare it to Liverpool, Jurgen's departure from Liverpool in the summer?
No, because even when Kenny Dalglish took over, it had been a continuation of the Liverpool way. Because from Bill Shankly to Bob Paisley to Joe Fagan to Kenny Dalglish, Kenny then left and Graham Souness and Roy Evans then came in. And it was still a Liverpool way of doing things. This is completely different. This is a completely new way. This is not somebody continuing the Jurgen way. This is somebody with Arne Slot coming in to completely change the way we play, to bring his own way. So in many respects, it's much more difficult for Arne because he's now changing a philosophy, changing a way of playing completely, which is going to take time. But the sounds are good. From pre-season, I was with them in America. They played really well. They're playing a completely different style. But all the players are bought into what he wants them to do. And they've started the season well. So it's not the same because, and that's the danger, because it's a completely new way of playing, and that is the unknown quantity.
What did you make of the transfer? It was relatively quiet. Obviously, the goalkeeper went on loan, will come back in the future. Chiesa, it's a good signing. Won the Euros 3 years ago, but dealt with injuries. Are you happy with the business they've done in the summer? It was relatively quiet.
That was spent a lot of money. I mean, Chiesa for that price. I don't know what's going on there because you hear players costing £80 million. And in a position whereby, yes, if you have an opportunity to sign a good player, sign him. But we have lots of players in those positions.
Yeah.
The position is really a defensive midfield player, which hasn't happened, but we have players who can fit into that. But I'm old enough and different enough to not think the solution to your problem is to sign players.
Okay.
Look at the amount of players Chelsea have signed, look what happened to them. We have a big
Chelsea.
enough squad, we've got good enough players can fit in. The idea that you need 11 world-class players who are going to cost £50 million is gone. You look at what Man City have done in terms of the players they've brought in, players they've got rid of. So I'm happy with what we have. If you can improve the squad, you sign players, but you don't just sign players for the sake of it.
In the middle of the park, midfield, it felt like maybe the softest part, the most vulnerable part. Would you agree with that, or you were happy with what they've got at the moment?
Well, you would always, I think, getting a number 6, and they try to get Zubamendi, and that's probably something they're looking at. But it's slightly different to, because the players that he may play there, be it Curtis Jones, be it Ryan Gravenberch, be it even Dominic Szoboszlai, it's different to Jurgen. They will play like Pirlo. They'll keep possession, they'll move the ball, so therefore they don't have to be that defensive. Whereas with Jurgen's team, you have to have a defensive midfield player in there. So as much as we haven't got that, in fact, our best defensive midfield player, Endo, which Jurgen brought in, probably isn't going to play because the way he plays, he doesn't need a defensive midfield player. He needs someone who's very comfortable on the ball. So I think because of the way we've actually changed the way we play, that is not as crucial as it would have been had Jurgen stayed.
You mentioned the player Gravenberg. Last season as well, dealt with injuries. It wasn't that consistent as well. Started the season well. Are you happy with him leading Liverpool, taking more responsibilities this season?
Yes, but as to whether that's going to be his role, I don't necessarily think that number 6 role in front of the back four is going to be there, but he's doing it and he's doing it well. That's still something that we probably have to address. But if you look at the type of players in midfield who he now likes, in terms of the Curtis Joneses, the Harvey Elliots, with Jurgen it was the Hendersons, Milners, Firminios, whereas now they're going to be much more technical because we're going to concentrate more on keeping possession rather than just winning the ball and getting it forward quickly. And that's the right thing to do. He has to be who he is. He has to be himself. And he's brought that new philosophy into Liverpool. The players are buying into it because they've got good characters. And so he started well. It's going to be a hard act to follow, but, fortunately he started very well.
וקליסטר חוטף את הכדור בלי בעיה. מיינו חלש, ליברפול לוהטת. הנה בשלוש, הנה בא מוחמד סלאח. ליברפול לוהטת באולד טראפורד.
Do you think Liverpool will be involved in the title race this season?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Because I think they're going to be consistent enough. And unless Man City go on to win every game and be 110 points, I don't think you're going to get, over 100 points to win the league anymore. It's going to be more competitive. So, of course, Man City and Arsenal and ourselves are going to be the 3 favourites. You could look at the consistency of Arsenal and say probably those 2. And you'll allow this season for him to get his feet under the table. But I think we'll do better than a lot of people expect us to.
Excluding the Man City fans, all of the other fans in the Premier League would have loved to see Pep Guardiola's last season in the Premier League. Do you think that this season will be his last season for Pep Guardiola, or do you think he'll stay beyond?
I don't know him. I haven't got a clue. It would surprise me if he stays. Because, of course, what else can he achieve? And if he has that hunger, it's a bit like Jurgen. Jurgen, after that amount of time,
I'm tired. He said I'm tired.
He says he's tired. Now Jurgen is going to get more tired than Pep because Jurgen is that type of a person. Pep doesn't carry on like Jurgen does on the side of the pitch.
The energy levels, you mean?
Yeah, so Jurgen is like that. But Pep may want a new challenge, He's been to Germany, Spain, may need a new challenge. And I don't know him, so I can't say whether, but I can't necessarily see him staying here for the next 2-3 years.
Do you think what motivates Pep perhaps is, obviously he wanted always Man City, and he's been here for so many years, has been dominated and been so consistent. One of the things that motivates Pep is to be remembered as good as, or maybe even bigger than Sir Alex?
Well, you either have to mention him being as good as or as big as Sir Alex now, unless he's going to stay for the next 8-9 years and continue to do that, then yes. But I don't think if he stays for one more year will make you, have an opinion as to whether he's bigger or better than Sir Alex just for one more season. You either have that opinion now and he could be as good or better. Yeah. I don't think one more season will make that much difference. So if he wants to do that, maybe then has to stay for the next 5, 6, 7 years, which I can't see him doing. So I don't think one more year is going to make that much difference.
Let's talk about Liverpool, your Liverpool back in the day. We know the highs, we know the lows, but can you share with me a moment that perhaps not too many people are aware of, that a moment that you had at Liverpool, a special connection, winning the league in a certain occasion, or a really difficult moment you remember at Liverpool?
Well, difficult moments are all challenges that we have in life. And we learn more from the difficult moments as to who we are and our character. From a playing perspective, when I ruptured my Achilles tendon, they thought I wouldn't play again, but I continued to play. But from a human level, Hillsborough, because of course when Hillsborough happened, that's got nothing to do with football. That really makes you think about life. And I never thought football was more important than life and death anyway, so I didn't really have to reassess my values. But it really brought it home to me how much football means to people in Liverpool. And I've said before that had this happened anywhere in the world, Maccabi Tel Aviv, Scunthorpe, anywhere, it could be that the people respond in the same way, but I don't know. All I know is what happened at Liverpool. And the response for the people of Liverpool, even the Everton fans, for a tragedy which really brought them together and showed how much they love their club and how much their club means to them, even in that state of tragedy, really touched me.
I think I remember you mentioned me a good few years ago when we met that your brother-in-law is an Evertonian, and how
No, he's a bitter Evertonian. He's not just an Evertonian. There's a difference between an Evertonian and a bitter Evertonian.
Well, you brought up Everton, so I must ask you, the way they started the season is dreadful.
והאם אברטון נותרת ללא ניצחון מפתיחת העונה במשחק שהיה בשליטה מלאה שלה. קלייברט ברגל ימין מעולה לתוך הרחבה, והבלתי יאמן קורה כאן בדקה ה-96. 3-2, שער שכולו סתירה מצלצלת לפנים של אברטון.
So do you think next season the new stadium they'll play it in the Championship?
No, I don't think they get relegated because I think there are 3 worse teams than Everton. Much as they haven't started well, I think that Everton will stay up. Okay. It is going to be in the new stadium difficult for them because the home advantage that you have is not just this is your home stadium, so you have an advantage. Yeah. It's the drive coming into it. Yeah. It's the security you have of the familiarity that the fans have going to the stadium, the players, the dressing rooms, the route that you drive into the stadium that you've had for years. The opposition only do it once a year, so that's the home advantage. Yeah, yeah. They won't have an advantage because everything's going to be new to them as well. Yeah, yeah. The passion that you have at Goodison Park, will it be the same in the early days as West Ham have found out in that stadium? So I'm not saying that when they're going to do new stadium, then they're going to do any worse than they are now. But it's going to take some getting used to.
You mentioned Hillsborough, which was a massive disaster. How do you remember those days after Hillsborough in the city of Liverpool? How the whole city was united. Doesn't matter if you're blue, doesn't matter if you're red. Everyone were together trying to heal up.
Well, of course, Evertonians would have lost brothers and relatives because Liverpool is in a divided city whereby it's geographical, or one family member supports Everton, one Liverpool. So it wasn't while it was a Liverpool Football Club tragedy because it was in a semi-final against Nottingham Forest Liverpool Football Club, it was a City of Liverpool tragedy. And Evertonians would have felt it equally as much because, once again, it's got nothing to do with football. It has to do with life and humanity. That is really what the football clubs mean for the people of Liverpool. And, of course, we've seen it from an Evertonian point of view in the last couple of years when they've been flirting with relegation, how much it means to them. Other cities and other clubs and other people at other clubs don't respond in the same way because this is their life.
What was the greatest moment you ever experienced playing for Liverpool? The moment you cherish the most?
There's no one individual moment.
Not even one?
Not one.
Top three?
Not one.
If you have any.
I've got too many. Because as I said, what makes you the person you are is what you've done over a period of time. I can pick individual moments, of course, and wasn't that great, but that's not who you are, the good and the bad. So won the Player of the Year, won the league for the first time, we won the FA Cup. So you have individual moments as the top scorer in the first division, and it's like, yeah, but if you do that, that's 4 great things. Yeah. I've been playing for 20 years. Yeah. You have to look at the good and the bad and the all round and be happy with everything you've done, positively and negatively. So I always look at my whole career, and particularly my 10 years at Liverpool, as the highlight.
Part of your career, you shared the dressing room with Ronnie Rosenthal, the striker. I know you're still in touch with him nowadays. I spoke to Ronnie a few days ago, and I said, look, I'm sitting down for one-on-one with John Barnes. How would you describe John, the player, and the person? And I can see your smile now. You know what's coming. You know how close. I know still now that you and Ronnie are still in touch nowadays. So this is the message from Ronnie. Let's watch it together, and then feel free to respond about your thoughts about Ronnie Rosenthal. Here we go.
I will tell you who is John Barnes. First of all, I will talk about him as a person because he's one of the nicest person around. He was always someone who come and talk to you. And I remember when I joined Liverpool, he was one of the first players to come to me, to talk to me, because for me it was not easy to come to a new club, but he was really nice. We always got on well together. He's so sympathetic, so open, and talk about a lot of subject and ask me about my country, Israel, and it's obvious as a player, John was a top player. He was so talented at the time. He was, if you could compare him to other players, he was a top speed with technically strong, very intelligent in the game. And for me, it's obvious he was one of the best players in the world. He won a few times the championship, and obviously with England. I will always remember the game against Brazil.
Now can he take Leandro? John Barnes now. Michael all the way for England. Barnes. He scored, and England amazingly are into the lead. His first goal for England, and what a place to get it.
He killed the game really with the goal that he scored in the Maracanã. So basically, he's a top person, top guy. Ciao, bye-bye.
Right, this is Ronnie's description of John, very generous. I said to him, Ronnie, 50 seconds, he carried on.
Well, Ronnie can't talk, as we know, but I get on really well with Ronnie. Yeah, I remember when he first came, and it was going to be because, I go to Herzliya. I've got friends in Herzliya. I've been going to Israel for many years, and Liverpool have a good connection with Israel from Avi Cohen, and and of course I know Eyal Berkovich, and of course, and that's why when we think about Israelis, forget about being Jewish Israelis. They have lots of different characters. Yeah. because I spoke about Eyal Berkovic and Ronnie Rosenthal.
Very
Two
different?
different characters, of course. Ronnie's so laid back. And Israelis aren't normally like that. Israelis are more like Eyal.
Yeah.
Whereas when we met Ronnie, and Ronnie was just so laid back, and he was like, oh, well, you know, I go and play and stuff. And of course, coming from Belgium, as much as Israeli came from Belgium, to Liverpool was because at Liverpool, when you're stuck in your ways, and Liverpool was always from, as I said, I felt I played under Bill Shankly. So from Bill Shankly to Joe Fagan to Bob Paisley, then Kenny Dalglish, it's a Liverpool way. Very strong, very hard. You know, they're unforgiving. What was called character building back then would be called bullying now. So there's a big situation whereby if you come and you can't handle this bullying and this way that they are, and Ronnie's come in a very laid back way, which is not a Liverpool way. You've got to be intense when you're a Liverpool footballer. And he's not a laid-back German or Englishman who has where you have the perception of that you're English or German. So no matter if you're laid back, you're great because you're English or you're German. You are Israeli, you're laid back, you haven't got a footballing culture in Israel. And, you know, I remember Ronnie Maraiyin just used to put his hair out because Ronnie was just so laid back and Ronnie was just so easygoing. He'd score goals and, you know, you'd tell Ronnie to do something. He goes, oh, okay, yes, I'll do it. But he was a good player. He'd always score goals because on the pitch, his character on the pitch was different to his character off the pitch. On the pitch, aggressive, 100%, gave 100%. So always, I always got on well with Ronnie.
Speaking about the Israeli ankle, obviously our ambassador to England, Mano Solomon, went on loan recently from Spurs to Leeds. We spoke about it before the interview a little bit. Obviously, he didn't play last season pretty much because of the injury. You know Leeds United really well. It's a big club. Ellen Road, it's a fantastic stadium. What do you make of the move?
It's a great move for him because, of course, it may not have worked out at Tottenham, but he's going to a club which is equally as big as Tottenham, fans equally as passionate. It's a hotbed of football, and the type of player he's aggressive play, gets the ball down, he takes people on. They would love him at Leeds. And you know, it's great to see because I know a lot of Israeli players. I remember when I coached Celtic and we played in Maccabi Tel Aviv. We played against Maccabi or
I think Hapoel Tel Aviv, and you mentioned Rami Gershon, the defender.
Gershon, that's the one I wanted to sign, the centre back. He was a player I would have brought in. So I've known a lot about Israeli football, and of course.
Did you try to sign Rami Gershon? And
I would like to have signed if I'd stayed at Celtic long enough, but I didn't stay there long enough. But he played against us, and he played against Henrik Larsson, and he was very, very good. And you know, so we've known about it. And of course, you got Avi and Eyal, so we know about Israeli football and Israeli players and how good they are. But I think he will do well at Leeds. The type of player he is, the type of character he is, how he plays on the pitch will go down well with Leeds fans.
I remember I've asked you in the past, who do you think is the greatest ever Liverpool legend? And you were saying to me, it's difficult to determine, you know, Kenny Dalglish, Steven Gerrard probably. How would you compare Mo Salah to those Liverpool legends within the club and also within the Premier League as well?
Mo will be right up there with them. I think if Mo stays at Liverpool for 10, 15 years, then you'll be able to
you think he'll stay beyond this year?
I'm not sure, but he won't be here for the next 4 or 5 years. You know, Kenny was there for 20 years, Steve was there for 18 years, whatever. So really to be spoken about like that, I think you have to have that longevity. But in terms of the impact he's had and what he's actually done, he's been equally as good as both of them. But when you talk about, you know, the top players at Liverpool is not just about the football. It's about the connection you have with the city and the fans, and you're still around and you're one of them. But in terms of his footballing, Mo will be right up there with both of them, absolutely.
Speaking of Steven Gerrard, obviously perhaps the original plan was that Steven will replace Jürgen one day. Obviously we know in football and in life, sometimes things don't work according to the plan. He's now managing in Saudi. Can you still see Steven in the future going back to Liverpool as the manager?
Well, it depends on what happens next. He's not going to go from Saudi to manage Liverpool. So Steven will have to decide whether he's going to come back to England to another club. And, you know, whatever he does at that club will then mean if he's successful, he's going to go on to Liverpool. But leaving Saudi to come to Liverpool isn't going to happen. So when you talk about the future, it really depends on what Steven's next move is after Saudi.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of the season. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
As always.